Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. AI, my friends, artificial intelligence, it is everywhere. It is everything. It is the future. I know how you feel. You have no idea what the hell is going on. You have no idea what to do with it. You think, well, maybe if I just hide under my desk, this will all blow over and we can go back to business as usual. Well, my friends, number one, that's wrong. And number two, I have the perfect guy who's going to help you fix all of this. Mr. Christopher Carr, welcome back to the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. This is great.
So you have been on with us multiple times before. I believe this is appearance either number 3 or number 4. In your you're still running that business, and it's a very successful business. Pharaoh Tech is what we have been talking about, and digital marketing and thought leadership and all that wonderfulness. Today, though, you are also running another company called Dynamics, which is all about, I'm going to put this in my words, democratizing and popularizing and empowering regular people at regular companies to take part in this AI revolution. Talk to us about how this idea for spinning off this brand new, very successful, very busy company, how did this come to you in your work at Pharaoh Tech? What were clients asking for? Give us the story.
Well, it was right after COVID. It was late 2020. We had just gotten our PPP money. I had a podcast called Digital Marketing Masterclass. Our goal was to interview the top 50 thought leaders in content marketing. And one of them was a gentleman named Paul Rotzer, who actually knows you, by the way. He runs the Marketing AI Institute, and he runs a digital marketing agency. And he jumps on and I say, hey, tell me about your agency. And he says, hey, you know what? You must not be doing your homework because I sold the agency. I'm doing this thing called artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And he starts talking, and I look at my business partner and I say, if only 30% of this is true, we've got a big problem.
And people need to know your timeline is very important. This is way before ChatGPT.
Exactly.
He was on this AI thing way before November of 22 when everyone jumped on it.
Crazy.
He was really one of the first people to say, guys, this is the future. And that was pre-ChatGPT.
That's right. That's right. And even for us, we were pre-ChatGPT.
Yes.
And we thought we were going to be the marketing agency that had the secret sauce. And I really remember it was almost like the stock market. Like some guy said, have you heard of ChatGPT? And he sent me a link and I went to it. And Todd, who was on that same podcast with me, came in and I was just like, it's here. And it's stronger and faster and better than I anticipated it to be. Yeah. Like we were doing that stuff without chat. Like, in other words, it was all pre-prompt AI early. It's before ChatGPT 3.5. And like, it was just overnight. It was like the world could have caught up to what we were doing. And you know what I mean? It was crazy.
Yes.
And I thought that was the beginning of the end. It turned out that was the beginning of the beginning.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you're also, I want to talk to you about speaking because you have really embraced your role and I'm going to say your responsibility as one of the leading lights in democratizing, popularizing, and empowering regular everyday executives at regular everyday companies to maximize AI. Talk to me about your speaking ramp up. Kind of from slow to medium to the raging flood that it is now.
Well, the funny part of this is just how you and I started talking again. Somebody said, create a PowerPoint. The PowerPoint went well. And then they said, can you do it for this company and for this company? And before I knew it, it was just like for every speech I did, I got the opportunity to do 2 or 3 more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it got into associations, and then the associations multiplied it by my audiences. You know what I mean? And I just literally remember 2 different speeches, and they weren't packed speeches. They were just the right people in the room, right? And then it just started spinning out of control. Now I'm doing it about 13 times a month. And like, I swear I'm on an airplane all the time. And I don't even know how to control the fire, if you know what I mean? In other words, like, it sort of spun out of control.
Right.
So I'm like, I go to myself and I'm just thinking to myself, like somebody has to have a roadmap here. And I know that I've talked to you a million times. So I was like, oh my gosh, his book. So I read back to his book, and your book went from like a guide to like a survival guide for me.
Nice.
I know it sounds weird, but like, I think people read your book to say, like, how do I turn that switch on? I was the opposite thing. I was like, I accidentally turned this on. Now, how do I get some focus? And how do I, you know what I mean? Like, it's because one of the people always say a good problem, right? When you're in a good problem, it's still a problem.
Amen. Champagne problems are still problems.
You know? Yeah.
So here's what's also beautiful about you and your topic and this business model. When people hear you speak and you deliver a ton of value, so don't take this the wrong way when I say this, but when they hear you speak, for as long as you possibly can speak, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, they want more. They're like, oh my God, this was amazing. I now see the possibilities. I see how much potential me or my company are leaving on the table. We need to grab this guy and bring him in. We need 2 days with Chris. We need 6 months of Chris's guidance to get everything up and running, whatever it is. So after the speech, and the speech is just done tremendously well, people are rushing up. There's the business card thing. There's a scan my QR code. We have to talk tomorrow. I want to bring you into this company. You have to speak at this association. Can we rent your brain for 2 days? What's the product suite that Dynamics is offering today as of this recording? And it's probably going to change by the time people listen to it. But what are the evergreen offerings sort of beyond the keynote?
Well, what I do is in my presentation, I literally say, this is the state of AI. This is where it's going. And this is how you could be prepared. All right. But the first step is literally to take a 2-day intensive, almost like learning by immersion. All right. And I know this sounds really crazy, and I'm going to show you some stuff. And when you see the way I talk to AI, there should be nothing in your brain that's like, oh my gosh, like, what a genius. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking in very digestible ways on how to talk to the machine. And so I'm like, if you hang around me for 2 days, you're going to develop what I call the eye for AI, which basically means there's like a light bulb that switches in your mind. And people, like, if you read my testimonials, people are just like, I came in this way and I left almost like a new person, you know?
Hey, super quick station break question. Have you seen our free executive briefing on elevating your CEO brand? Check it out right now at doitmarketing.com/webinar. And now back to the show. Do you want to do that demo now?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right.
All right.
And so people that are just listening, you want to find this episode on YouTube. The link's going to be directly in the show notes at thesellingshow.com. And the YouTube people, watch this. Watch it.
So I'm going to show you 2 different demos real quick. But, all right, you should be able to see my screen right now. Do you see one that says Cerebrus?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Now just watch this. This is just a run-of-the-mill type thing. All right. I have a daughter named Evelyn. She's 9 years old, and she loves princesses. And I have a son, Bennett, who's 7 years old, and he loves superheroes. We're going to Disneyland for 3 days. Please write me an itinerary. Okay, as you can see, it's immediately done. Please put that in table format. I'm sorry, can you do that again and put my itinerary in table format? Okay, now please add a column for duration. Okay, I don't like where you put duration. Can you make that column 1 so it's duration, day, morning, et cetera, et cetera? Okay, close enough. Do me a favor and put that in code mode. Okay, now draft this email to my assistant. Hey, Christy, I'm going to be speaking in Anaheim, and I have turned my itinerary into something that you can import into my Google Calendar and just batch upload it. Can you make sure that this is done before my trip? Give me 1 second. This flaked out. Give me 1 second.
It's not 1,000% perfect. We are shocked.
Create me a 3-day itinerary for 2 kids in Disneyland. Put it into code mode. Now, I've drafted that email before the glitch, right? Now, here's the deal, is that my assistant, Christy, has been with me for 13 years. So I'm not going to say, hi, Christy, and I'm not going to spell her name wrong. And I'm not going to come down here and do things at speed like that and just say your name. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, write that email again with the following instructions. Now that might look like gobbledygook to you, but that's what's called prompt engineering. And I'm going to go like this. Now that email spelled properly, sounds like me, sounds like my brand, has my signature and salutation and everything that I would need. All right. Now think about how long that would have been taken in the old world, right? It would take a pretty long time, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So what I do for a living is I teach people how to talk to the machine just like that. And I divot the boundaries, but then I also say, let's look at every task you do in your job, and then let's work backwards and figure out what the machine's going to input back to you, where it goes wrong, how to correct it, so that every single time you use it, it gets smarter and smarter and smarter. All right? And so it's just an art and a science of how do you talk to a machine. And it's funny because a lot of people that have kids, I have a 7-year-old kid, and I'm like, if you clean your room, he doesn't do it. But if I say, if you clean your room like Iron Man, he's like, I'm on it. You know what I mean? In a very weird way, you're talking to the smartest kid alive, but you have to know how to talk to it. So I went back, I got my certification from MIT. I did a bunch of different things. And in that process, let me just share my screen here. I started doing this thing here. And this is sort of, I guess you would say, what makes me famous here is, so this is my professor at MIT. And he says, you got to learn faster, you got to experiment more, and you got to adapt better. So I started just creating these experiments. And so the one thing that you have to know is that there's this thing called the Turing test. And the Turing test basically says in the future, there's going to be a day where you have a computer generated output and it's going to be indistinguishable from like the real world. You're not going to be able to tell the difference. And so let me show you these things real quick.
Sure.
Okay, to prove my point on the Turing test, I want to run an experiment. I want you to watch my eyes, my mouth, and my gestures. Mis ojos, mi boca, y mis gestos. Mes yeux, ma bouche, et mes gestes. मेरी आंखें, मेरा मुंह, और मेरे इशारे. 我的眼睛, 我的嘴巴, 和我的手势. Okay, now let's take it one step farther. This is me speaking in English. 这是我用普通话说话. And I'm back. It's creepy, right? But it can actually get worse. You see, right before your eyes, I can get old, I can get young, or I could be just plain scary. One thing is for certain, in the age of AI, you will not be able to believe your eyes. So I do these tests where I'll go like this. So, is this guy real or fake, David?
He is real.
And he's fake.
Wow.
What about her?
She's real.
Yeah, she's real. How about her?
She's fake.
Fake?
Yeah.
What about her? Yeah, she's fake.
Also fake. Yeah. You know what I'm looking for? This is so funny. And I'm looking for the shine on the cheeks.
Yeah, it's stuff like that, right? The littlest, subtlest things. What about her?
She's real.
No, she's fake.
Oh, God damn it.
And then watch this. So where this is leading is, what about this guy? Is this guy real or fake?
That is fake Chris.
That's fake Chris.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Dynamics AI podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carr. Now let's talk about how we can help great businesses solve big problems using AI. Okay, this is kind of funny, but I'm the real Chris Carr, and you are an avatar that I built as a tool to help answer frequently asked questions about how to implement artificial intelligence into our clients' and potential clients' businesses. That's right, Chris. I am an avatar. I've been developed as a custom GPT connected to an API. I've been trained on every one of your blogs, the transcripts from your podcasts, your company's standard operating procedures, and the key insights you've gathered from AI thought leaders. That's correct. My goal is to continuously add content to this program so that I can quickly address people's questions and issues. I look forward to helping our audiences think big using the power of artificial intelligence in their businesses. So a lot of what I do is these things that sort of boggle the mind, but the practical side of what I do is I will go and I'll speak to organizations and I'll say, this is how mechanical contractors can do 40 hours worth of work in 15 minutes with AI. And I literally on stage, I will do a 15-minute exercise. And then like the joke is it's not 15 minutes, it's 5 minutes. And I will have developed a brand for a new initiative. I will have a tagline. I will have done 30 hours worth of PhD research. I will take that, I'll put it into a presentation that's made with infographics and like generative imagery. I'll take that out. I'll have an entire social media calendar, entire editorial calendar, and all the standard operating procedures. And then I will go and create my public speaking schedule, write the itinerary, upload it into my Google Calendar, and I do all of that in 5 minutes. So
let me I'm not gonna say challenge, but I'm just out of curiosity. Yep. Mechanical contractors, they obviously can't do the mechanical contracting, but we're talking about the back office, business.
Yep.
We got to redesign the trucks. We got to, we're getting new uniforms for the guys. We need to update our invoicing system, all of that.
Everything from scheduling to, they're part of an industry to create data centers.
Yeah.
The total addressable market to build data centers in this country is going to be around $2 trillion over the next 5 years. That's with a T. All right. These guys are in the belly of the beast. They are cooking. And so all they're looking to do is basically be able to make sure that we can run these huge projects with huge staff with maximum efficiency. You know what I mean? They're always trying to figure out how to measure time, materials, and labor. Then they're always trying to use things that are going to be related to submittals, or like you have to submit certain equipment and be able to use AI to tell the difference, or you got to request more information, things like that.
Yep. So this brings up such an interesting dilemma for you as the thought leader, the face and the voice of this movement right now.
Yeah.
You just said some very industry specific things for mechanical contractors, right? Yep. Submittals, approvals, etc. When you're speaking to pharmacists, you're speaking to photographers, you're speaking to mechanical contractors, you're speaking to, forensic accountants.
Yep.
How deep do you have to go into their industry or into their vertical function to prepare a program like the kind that you do?
Well, fortunately, I'm really strong in enterprise construction, and my electrical contractors, mechanical contractors, my civil engineers, and my sheet metal guys, they all sort of speak from the same sheet of music. Mm-hmm. But my other, the other companies, I'm literally talking about the standard things that every businessman or businesswoman needs. How do you write emails effectively? How do you do scheduling? How do you talk to data and reports? How do you create a presentation? Everything that I do is a demo. I show them how I do it. And then we dream a little bit. And I say, well, how could that work for your company? And how can it work for your position? And then you'll ask questions back to me. And I'll be able to say, based upon what you said, the technology could do steps 1, 2, and 3, but number 4 is going to need time to cook.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you're working with companies, business owners, etc., I'm sure that one of the top questions that you get after they put their socks back on and they put their eyeballs back in their head because their socks were blown off and their minds were blown. Chris, this is incredible. How many people can I let go now that AI can do this, 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 and this? Do you ever get that? I got a team of 54 people. Based on what I just saw Chris do, I might need 30 of them and let 24 go. What's your advice when you hear a question like that?
No doubt AI will disrupt jobs, but I'm going to tell you a couple different narratives here. My mission is to marry artificial intelligence with authentic intelligence and help companies be what I call decidedly human, which means I want to empower your employees to take the chance to be able to say, if my job is in the crosshairs, this is how I'm going to use these tools to pivot my job and do these other things. Yeah. Right? Now, one of the things that I notice is that I don't know many people that on a Friday, they get their work done and there was like, you know what? There was nothing left to do. They literally just chipped away at that pile that's a mile high.
Yeah.
So if I can help them do the foundational things bigger, stronger, and faster, they're going to probably get to their unique abilities. But we're always busy making the donuts.
Yeah.
You know, I got a WordPress system in 1992 and I thought, oh my gosh, what time savings. I'm never going to have to handwrite a paper again. Right?
Yeah.
But I did. I had a word processor. Now I wrote longer papers and I wrote longer PowerPoints and I wrote longer reports. Somehow technology that's designed to save us time, it puts us on what I call the treadmill of more. We take on more work. We do more things, you know, and there seems to always be more work. So I can do 40 hours worth of work in 15 minutes, but I still work 60 hours a week.
Yes. But the output from that is now 10 feet higher.
It is. But it never seems to end. It's like the fish in the loaves, you know?
So I'm going to ask you another question about when you speak, when you do these trainings for companies. The question I was going to ask you is, hey, what are some really cool tools that are out there that you recommend? But it's not that question. Yeah. It's after you've given a presentation or after you've spent 2 days with a company. What are the tools that they resonate with? What are the tools that they're most excited to pick up and start using? And just give me 2 or 3 of the top examples.
The one that is surprisingly really powerful and free is one called Fathom. Fathom it's a note taker that connects to Zoom and Teams. It's absolutely incredible. Every minute in my company is recorded. And then it's referenceable and you can talk to the AI in natural language. And I could have a conversation and look back and be like, hey, what pricing did I even mention? And I don't have to listen to an hour-long phone call. I can literally talk to the data. You know, that's a big one. And
so people love that. They jump into that as one of the first things.
It's such a why not type technology. Salespeople have equivalent one called Read AI. And so they'll turn that on and they'll have a sales call. And after the sales call, it'll say, you had a conversation with David, and when you mentioned your price, he had nonverbal communication that said he was optimistic about what he heard. You know what I mean? So that resonates as well. It's just, you know what I mean?
So that tool doesn't just analyze the transcript. That tool watches the video for body language.
Yep.
Wow.
Nuts, right? I do a demo, and I use a technology called Hume. And with Hume, I play 2 truths and a lie, and the AI can guess when I'm lying with 70% accuracy. Yeah, right? The other technology is Perplexity. I don't know that you've used Perplexity, but I tell people if you use it for 30 minutes, you'll never go back to Google.
Because it just pulls out and references every little bit of data.
So we got used to a world where you ask a question and you get 10 blue links. And if I don't find the answer in blue link number 1, I have to leave that building and walk into another building and hope it's in the next building.
Yeah.
Where Perplexity says, I'm going to get those 10 links. I'm going to show you them, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk in all those buildings for you and I'm going to spoon feed you the answer.
Yeah.
And if I want a recipe for guacamole, I don't have to read 1,500 words about how your grandmother came to this country in Costa Rica with the last avocado, You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's just the recipe.
Holy smokes, so much value in this episode. Listen, if you are loving what you're hearing, feel free to download, subscribe, tell a friend, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to The Selling Show. Now, back to the interview. What tools do you feel, not this isn't a Terminator Skylink question, but where do you feel we need some really careful regulation? Like even that video that you showed, that you could do scary things depending on who's in that video, right?
Yep. And this is not even like a commercial thing. So I tell, when I speak on stage, I tell everybody, you and your family have to leave your phone and every piece of technology possible. And you got to walk into the middle of a football field and you have to have a safe word as a family. Because with a technology that's less than $20, David, I could take any one of your podcasts and have enough of your information to sound just like you. Mm-hmm. And then I could call any one of your loved ones and just say, man, I'm in a bad spot. I'm going to need 10 grand. Can you just, like it? And
then you say, what's the safe word?
What's the safe word?
Avocado.
Avocado.
And the AI goes banana. It's like, no, it's not him.
That's right.
So it's going to be that authentic soon, if not now, but it's going to be that authentic that even family members might not be able to tell the difference between our digital or audio presence.
That's right. And like one of the things I'm doing is I do these calls. I bought my dad a expensive video camera, an expensive audio setup. And I'm literally in the process of, I'm going to be calling him every other Friday. And I'm going to interview him. And I asked ChatGPT questions. He was born in 1945 to the present. And I'm just going to interview him on video, because what I believe is going to happen is that when my kids want to go and know their grandfather, he's 80, he's not going to know them when they're teenagers.
Yeah.
That they can literally just talk to what would feel like not his consciousness, but they'll be able to just talk to him because I have a whole library of everything he's done for his entire life.
Wow. Yeah. Digitized people.
I literally think that's going to be a business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just going to be one of those things. And even if my dad doesn't say it, it's going to be keenly aware that my dad grew up at this time and he knew what a Studebaker was.
So tell me a little bit about what are the different ways that you serve clients. So again, they've heard the keynote, they're blown away.
Yep.
Small, medium, large, supersize, what's on the menu of how you can help?
Well, the first thing is that I teach them something that's called AI literacy. You see, most companies are going and they're doing a couple different things. The first thing they say is we're using AI. And I'm like, no, you bought AI and then you handed it over to your team, right? And they are driving that Ferrari like a Prius. They're driving at 10 miles per hour, right? I mean, how much of Excel that's not a trick question, but how much of Excel do you really know?
5%.
5%, right? And that's what we're doing with AI, except for AI is rocket fuel.
Yeah.
All right. And companies that use the full potential of it are going to skyrocket. That pun just accidentally landed in my lap.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So the first thing is AI literacy is I got to teach you how to use the tools that you already have. The second thing is people are saying, well, I'm buying software or a solution that already has the AI in it. And what I'm saying is that I don't care what tools you buy. I don't care what grill you buy. Your team's going to do so much better if I teach them how to cook. Okay.
Yeah.
So I still want you to buy the grill. I just need them to know the language behind it. Right. After that, I do these things called dream sessions, and dream sessions are, hey, you want to integrate AI. You don't know where to start. So you're going to buy a round lot of hours of my time and you're going to tell me your strategic projects, or I'm just going to like shadow you. Let's say it's you, David. And I'm going to say, David, what do you do on a daily basis? And you're like, well, I set up my speaking presentations and then my scheduling, and then I schedule my podcast and I do the stuff like that. And then I'll sit with you and I'll say, what if I could do all of those tasks using AI? So you turn on ChatGPT. I'm going to sit right next to you and type this in to get this result.
Yeah.
And I'm going to help you buy back your time. And then what I do is I measure how long it took beforehand, then after, But then the next question I ask is, what is the opportunity cost? If I took a 5-hour job and turned it into an hour job, I bought you 4 hours back. What are you going to do with those 4 hours? You know? And then the final thing that we do is there's two things. We create what's called an AI steering committee, which basically means we come into your office and we figure 10 people out, 10 different people in your company that are in multiple different departments, and they meet every 6 weeks. They meet every 6 weeks, and we talk about everything from AI policies to AI tools to whatever. Because one of the things that businesses have to know is they got to have an ironclad AI policy on their website to tell their clients, we use AI. This is what we're doing with your data. This is how we're protecting your data. This is how we're scaling as a company, but not at your expense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that. And then the final thing I do is we create what's called app in the gap. And an app in the gap is I have a team of programmers. You remember my old job, at Faratech, we built websites.
Yeah.
And what we do is we build these tools and these things called agents. And what we do is we solve these problems throughout your company, and then we seamlessly integrate it into the software you already have. Most software that you already have has an API. It's like a little bridge. So I'm going to solve problems. I'm going to make sure it goes right into that bridge. So let me give you an example of one. Say you and I have a talk and we're like, Chris, high five, awesome. Let's go and we're going to meet again on April 30th. Now on the 28th, you look and I haven't confirmed on the calendar date that I'm going to be there. You're going to have to send that email of shame that's like, hey, Chris, are we on today or not? Right? Well, what if I just created a real quick tool that has an if-then statement? If it's 2 days before the event, either put this email in my draft folder or automatically send it to them and says, hey, are we on or not?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Imagine me chipping away at the parts of your job that are intentional friction, but that bring no value to you're not like, oh my gosh, this is why I get up in the morning to reconfirm my meetings. You know what I mean?
I'm curious, and when we could talk for days, which simply means we have to have you back on the show yet again. Sorry, we got to grab you back. I do have a question about lead generation. So, there are all these different tools, databases, Apollo, scrapers, all of these different things. You would think that in 2025, in the era of AI, there should be a way, like let's say as a speaker, right? You're speaking, I'm speaking. Give me a list of 100 trade and professional association conferences happening 6 months from now that have my fee, my budget, and a high probability audience. Is there any magic lead gen, demand generation thing like that?
My first start would be what's called deep research. The best one on the market is ChatGPT's deep research. So I'll tell you about an experiment that I'm in the middle of right now. I wish I could say, cross it off my list. What I did is that I still want to rank in Google because I still think my company needs to rank even in the new world of AI search.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this deep research report, and here's how it goes. I want you to find every award a digital marketing agency could win for my size. Okay, digital marketing company that's my size, that's been around for 25 years, that has this many employees, right? And then that also gives money to charity. You might have your own seasoning, it might be veteran-owned or female-owned, right?
Sure.
Find me all of those companies in the United States. Then I want you to find me their submission page. Then what I want you to do is I want you to give me all of the common fields on their submission pages. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill out that form one time, and I'm going to use the AI to auto-submit into all of those, to auto-submit my nomination into all of those awards. It's crazy, right? But it's called Operator, and it'll go and it'll do that. Or at least it'll come to a spot where it's about 70% of the way there.
And what about the fields that are not in common between those submission forms?
Yeah, then that's the only thing. So now I'm 70% of the way there. So then I'm only filling out the bottom 30%.
How about that?
Yeah.
And that's pretty, so AI, and it's getting better, every single day, but it's famous for misquoting, not being great at math, not being great at spelling, and making stuff up.
Correct.
When you say, hey, give me the top 100 award sites,
Yep.
So that's pretty accurate.
It's been it's pretty good. Now, like you said, it gets better each time. Now, certain things that I'm able to do is there's something called temperature. And if you dial in the temperature, basically what it's saying is that if the temperature is higher, it tries to be as helpful as possible. If the temperature is lower, it gives you less results, but those results are a little bit more airtight. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to coach or train, that's the word they use, train the AI to tell me when it's guessing.
Can we get digital images that don't have 6 fingers? Is that happening yet?
That's happened. We're back with that. We fixed type. It used to be like the words used to
the type was terrible. Some typos, misspellings.
Yeah. But some of the stuff I'm doing with ChatGPT's image generator are so much fun. Like my kids, like I gotta like chill out. My kids have to chill out because once they get going, they just, you know what I mean?
And tell us a little bit, just as we're landing the plane here, video, is Sora the primary video thing or not?
I would say that Kling and Runway ML are the best.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Those two are the best. I found one that I just texted somebody today that is, what they're doing is these things, they're like these wrappers. And what they are is they have 5 different models. And then you will do your prompt and it'll show you what it would look like in all the 5 models before it starts. Those things are really, really cool. You know what I mean? Does it have all the functionality of every model? No, but most of us don't live on the outer perimeter of our software.
Right.
So these like wrappers, stuff like that, you know what I mean? They do that. I want to see if I can give you the name of that because I don't want to leave you hanging on that. I just literally texted it to somebody here. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Blotato. It's like potato, blotato.
Blotato. What a great name. Plus it's fun to say.
I know. But 5 video generators all in one. And you're going to save a fraction of the money and you're going to figure out which one you like best.
Wow. Well, holy smokes. I'm going to ask you 2 final questions here. The final question is, where can people go to connect with you and get more of your brilliance? If people were to take one core idea about the state of AI today in this moment, what would you hope that big takeaway or big core idea is?
If you communicate for a living, which means you own a computer or you own a cell phone, if you have not taken the first leap, you're late. And the second thing is, it's not too hard to get started and get up to speed.
Love that. Now, where can people go to connect with the amazing Christopher Carr, Dynamics, resources, links? What can we put in the show notes?
I got to tell you that my own company name is the funniest thing ever. So I run a marketing and branding company. And when we came up with our name, we were high-fiving about how cool it was. And ever since then, people are just always confused at the spelling. So it's supposed to be Dynamics because we were trying to make it sound like some of the critical terms that were in AI early on, but we spell it DYNAIMIX.ai. All right. But people keep calling it Dynamics because I thought it was cool to have AI in the middle of the word. And now it's been, I can't turn the bus around because too many people know about it.
Right.
But I get on stage and people are like, Chris from Dynamics. I'm like,
exactly. No, it's not a blender. It's not a blender. Dynamics, DYNAIMIX.com, dynamics.com. And that your blog is up there, all the ways to connect with you, the speaking, the consulting, it's all there.
All there.
Amazing. Well, my friend, this is a very, very exciting time to be alive. Having friends like you makes it even more so to help us sort through the craziness and the noise and the hype. And we're all going to become superhuman at some point. If we can just harness 10%, we're going to go from harnessing 5% to harnessing 10%, maybe someday even harnessing 15%. And I love that you're enabling so many executives and so many companies to really play a much higher game and be much, much more successful. We need all the help we can get at this point.
This is awesome. Hey, this is such a pleasure. I look forward to the next 5 times I'm on your show.
Absolutely. We will make it happen. You got it. No, this is great. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.